Every new year brings a new year to do things better, improve, to catch more and bigger bass. Also, this time of year, like many of you, I'm organizing tackle, going through what I have, cleaning out, getting rid of stuff, figuring out what I need to do, what I want to add, what I'm going to do for new techniques this year. Today, I'm going to share my top 3 new ideas for rigs and techniques that are going to help me catch more big bass this year, and in the end, just going to help me suck less this year. And I'm pretty sure at least one of them is going to help you catch more bass too. Fishing is definitely getting tougher every single year, every single season as a general rule. There are always going to be bass that eat that same old spinnerbait, that same old Texas rigged worm that we've been throwing for years, that our dads threw, that our grandpas threw, that people have been throwing for generations. But at the same time, bass across the country, across all of our favorite lakes, streams, and rivers are getting conditioned, they're getting educated, they're getting smarter to these same old techniques. One of the main ways that we can counteract this is to come up with new ways, new colors, new rigs, new vibrations, new patterns to show these fish something different, to get a few more strikes and help us catch a few more bass. The Inurig is clearly the newest, hottest sensation on YouTube and social media. That crazy little worm, all rigged up, looking lifelike. But that is absolutely not what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to be fishing it next year. I don't think the Inurig is practical. I think it tears up worms, too hard to rig, time sticking, so we're definitely not talking about that. Sure, it could be a fun rig to play with, but I couldn't imagine using it in tournaments. Even fun fishing seems like a big hassle. Let's get serious and talk about the 3 rigs that I'm vowing to actually work on and improve this season. The best part about these 3 techniques is it's almost all stuff they already have. It's just using them in new combinations, new ways, and new methods. And you probably got a bunch of these baits too. And if you don't have a few of these things, I'll have links in the description down below that'll help explain it all and show you where you can get them. The first method that I'm interested for this year is the free rig. The free rig is basically a new / old way to present soft plastics in a weedless fashion. It is very much just a variation of the OG Texas rig, but with a little bit of a twist. Essentially, you don't need much for the free rig. It's pretty easy. You need some bobber stops, kind of a medium to light wire, extra sharp EWG hook, some kind of a weight with a ring, like this drop shot weight, this Bass Tech drop shot free weight. What you don't want is the style of drop shot weights that have the pinch on them, as shown here. This is definitely not what you want, and I'll show you why in a second. And then your favorite soft plastic, something preferably that has a little bit of a flat body and some kicking tails to give a little glide and a little resistance in the water, and we'll talk about that. You can really free rig just about any bait you want, but we'll talk about which ones will work better. Now let's rig one up. I'm going to tie this up on my Dobbin 743. Nice medium heavy action rod, 12-pound fluorocarbon straight. The first thing we're going to start with is we're going to put the weight on first. So I'm going to slide this on, this Bass Tech drop shot weight. The one I have here is a 1/2 ounce because I'm a little low. I need to stock up. You know, part of that off-season thing is we need to stock up. So I need to get some 3/16 and 1/4 ounce, which are a little more in line for this type of rig and a little more finesse. So you slide that on the line first. Then we're going to put our bobber stop, and I'll show you why. So if you've never done this before, you just slip this bobber stop on, pull the line, pull it over your line. There, it's on the line. We'll just pull that up so we can tie our knot. Then we're just going to take this EWG hook. We'll tie, for simplicity, a quick Palomar knot. Sometimes I'll use the double Pitsin or a few other knots or a double San Diego jam knot, but for quickness, we're just going to use a Palomar knot today. Moisten your fluorocarbon, cinch it down, grab our Arsenal scissors, trim that tag in. Don't need to be super tight. Actually, a little bit of extra line won't be bad on this one. Then we'll just take our soft plastic, we'll Texas rig it on there. And depending on the cover, you can Texpose it or bury the hook, whatever you need to do. All right, here's our rig. We'll bring our bobber stop just down almost to the nose of the bait, and then we'll have this sinker freely moving above our bait, the free rig. The bobber stop really just protects your knot and keeps that round part open ring from like wedging on your knot and getting caught. So you're going to cast this out, and it's like a Texas rig, but the line and the sinker moves a lot freer than it would through a Texas rig sinker unpegged. And basically the thought of it is the sinker is going to go down and your bait is going to hover or trail and float behind your bait as it falls. And then you'll kind of pull it, and you'll kind of pull it down to the sinker and work it. But on that initial fall, right, that descent, you're going to get that slow hover kind of weightless presentation you do, but at a deeper water column than a shallow rig. That's the basic premise. Just giving the fish a slightly different look around vegetation and brush. The thought is that this bait will kind of ride up, and if you bring it over grass, the sinker is going to go down, and this thing's going to kind of hang up and float and dangle and give the fish just a little bit different presentation than you would if you had a Texas rigged or a pegged sinker. Baits you can use, you could pretty much use any soft plastic, but I think you want one with slightly lower salt content, one that kind of floats up, has a little bit of buoyancy, a flatter body, a little bit of drag. That's going to help that thing trail up and catch resistance so that the sinker goes down and it kind of slowly follows your sinker. So things like a Senko with heavy salt content, probably not the greatest. Other baits that I'm definitely going to try, Zoom Speed Craws, Baby D-Bombs. We already showed you the Rage Bug, and then I think the Menace Grub will be a killer too. So that's the free rig in a nutshell. I see this for both smallies, largemouth, sparse cover, vegetation. I think it'll have a good play, and I'm definitely interested to try out. And I think in current, it could be even sneakier good on that current, kind of pull it away from the bait and kind of working it. It's kind of a hybrid between a drop shot, a Texas rig, and a Carolina rig all together to give the fish a new look. If you've used the free rig, let me down below. I'd love to know your thoughts on the free rig. Number 2 on the list, bigger swim baits, glide baits, soft baits, hard baits, wake baits, crank downs. I just want to throw big baits more. This one's a little bit of a repeat. I feel like I say this almost every year, but this year I definitely want to get out and want to catch a few more bass, nice bass, on swim baits, on bigger baits, get them on GoPro, bring them to you on the channel. If that means getting out with guys like Dave Sindrich or Tom Campbell or my other buddies that throw swim baits a lot, and if that's what it takes, then we're going to do that, because we're definitely going to put a few big bass in the boat on a swim bait this year. I definitely got boxes of big hard baits and soft baits. It's time to put them to use and finally score some big bass. By no means am I pretending to become a big bait specialist. I'm not trying to be the next Chris Zaldane or Carl Jacobson or anything like that. But I definitely want to up my game and get a little more comfortable with it and get a feeling for when I should be pulling these out situationally in tournaments and fun fishing to catch a few more big bass. I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments if you've made the switch, if you've made the commitment to big baits, and if it's something you've worked into your arsenal, and which big baits have you had the most success working into your arsenal. I'd love to hear it down in the comments, and share with others what are some good big baits to try out that you feel are like high percentage producers to get into. Third technique is chatterbaits, but no, not just any chatterbaits. Obviously, I've been catching a ton of bass on chatterbaits for years, and it was one of my main producers, but I want to fish chatterbaits in a new way this year that is much different than what I've done in the past, that I think is really going to put a lot of quality fish in the boat from a different water column. The big switch up for me this year is going to go heavy chatterbaits. So you can go and buy 3/4, 1 ounce, 1.25 ounce jackhammers and other style chatterbaits out there. But I really think a 3/4 ounce is going to be kind of that sweet spot. But I think the key thing here is you don't need to go out and fill your box with a bunch of heavy chatterbaits. You can if you want to, but what I'm going to do, but my plan is to leverage the Queen Tackle Switchblade. Now, we've talked about this on the channel a few times recently in recent videos and on streams and things like that. And this is just another application I see for the Switchblade. If you're not familiar with the Queen Blade Switchblade, it's a blade with an open attachment that you can attach to any jig with a vertical line tie. So I've got some of these 3/4 ounce Bass Tech Tungsten jigs with no skirts on them with weed guards. So that'll give them the opportunity to fish them in weedless, or I can thin these out or soften them up or trim them out. So I slip that on there, secure it, and now I can build myself a little box of different color combinations, heads, skirts of 3/4 ounce bladed jigs, chatterbaits with different weed guards softened up, and that'll just be a pre-kit that I'll have in my boat so that I don't forget to use them this year. So here I've got one on a silver blade on a black head. Here I've got a black blade on a brown head. We'll grab a couple skirts, show you real quick what they can look like. You can also hand tie these if you'd prefer, which I'll probably do some of those too, but just for the quickness of the video, we're just gonna slide one of these up on a jig. All right, there we go. We kind of got a green pumpkin with a little bit of light blue. I got the light blue on the bottom because most bait fish and crayfish and things in the water, the lighter color is on the belly. Give it a little trim, give it a little shaping, give it a little volume, let the skirt kind of flare out. And there, now we've got our own 3/4 ounce bladed jig in kind of a crawfish, blue craw, even a bluegill type color. Looking really good. Put a favorite trailer on that, a swim bait, a little craw, depends on what we're fishing. And we'll do one more up with this kind of bluegill perch color on the brown head. All right, there's that brown head, little green, little orange, little blue. We'll also trim this one up just a touch. Get everything unstuck there. And there, we got 2 banger looking 3/4 ounce heavy chatterbaits. Now, I plan to throw these where I would throw football jigs, offshore, rocks, scattered areas, along weed lines, dragging them, slow rolling them, giving them a little zip, kind of short, almost like a little blade bait in the summer, giving it a little short, kind of vibrate, let it fall, vibrate, let it fall. I think that's going to be a way to show those fish that see tons of jigs, see tons of drop shots, see tons of Texas rigs down there. Give them a little bit different presentation, a little bit of different vibration and sound profile. I think it's going to trigger a ton of quality bites from them fish offshore. Plan to fish this on the same rods I fish deep jigs and football jigs. I'll probably use my Dobbins 745, 17, 16, 17, 18, 20 pound fluorocarbon, and make long casts, short casts, flips. You know, we can flip it, we can cast it, we can drag it, we can slow roll it. There's a lot of options, and I think it'll just kind of spice things up on those deeper fish. Not to mention, I think I'll be able to cover a ton more water really fast. It could be a really key tool practicing for tournaments and helping locating fish fast. And in the end, I think it's going to create some jarring strikes for some quality fish that don't normally see chatterbaits down deeper than 5, 6, 8, 7 feet. I'd love to hear down in the comments if any of these ideas have sparked any new ideas for you and what techniques you're planning to try that are going to help you catch more fish this year. Opposed to speculating about the new baits and techniques that I'm excited for this coming season, if you're more interested in what really worked and what helped me put a bunch of fish in the boat last year, make sure you watch this video on the screen right here.